It is. It's working. Hello.
Hello. Have we got anybody in here?
Hopefully, if you're watching us, then obviously you can type in the chat box and then we'll see questions. So if you click on the link, then that'll work. Anyway, hello.
This is new to us. We have not done a Patreon live stream before, as you can probably tell.
And welcome to the Three Ravens' first birthday live stream, I suppose.
Yes, birthday celebration for our first year round England's counties.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the historic counties, not the actual counties.
No.
Huntingdonshire, sadly, is no more.
And Westmoreland.
And Westmoreland, yes.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. So we just wanted to say how happy and grateful we are really that you've joined us on this kind of wild ride around for the first year. It's been amazing having you on board with us, and like we couldn't do it without our Patreons, could we?
No, of course not. No, but I also think it's been just an incredible experience to, I don't know, from having a conversation when I was in the bath and thinking, you know what I think we should do?
Well, the best meetings are held in the bath in our house.
A number of meetings. One of us is in the bath.
It's how we do the department meetings.
Yeah, that's right. And then, we started plotting out from there, didn't we? But I think we only came up with the idea to do Three Ravens, in January, maybe February?
I think it was actually quite a quick turnaround from coming up with it to releasing the very first episode.
Yeah.
And while Martin's had lots of podcast experience, I had absolutely none. So it is my very first podcast experience. I mean, I've been on the radio and telly and stuff, but it's not quite the same.
No, it's not quite the same.
No, definitely not.
One of the advantages of it is you can muck up a lot more, I think.
Absolutely. And we do.
Yeah.
I would keep saying one of the things that we should release is a supercut of all of the, not so much gaffes as just peculiar things that we do and peculiar things that happen while we're recording. Probably nobody else would find this as funny as I do.
No, but I suppose one of the big things is, hi Olivia.
Hello.
Happy birthday to all of us, I suppose.
Yes, we should have done some strange celebratory cakes. Maybe the mini Sant'Agata.
Oh my goodness, we should.
I actually have a dome-shaped cake tin, so I could have done it. And it's enormous as well. it's a sort of absolutely vast tin. They would have been really something.
Yeah, they would have.
For next time.
Intimidating sized bosom cakes. Yeah. So how are you doing, Olivia? Are you okay? What were we saying before? Oh yeah, so all of the edits, things that we do on the podcast that are a bit silly. I mean, one of the things we always do is just do like a vocal check just at the start where we just talk absolute nonsense to each other.
He says talk, but we nearly always do it in song.
That's true. We almost always sing. But if we were to put all of those together, it would just sound like people losing their minds, I think.
Yeah, very quickly. Something I also like to do is sing the guitar music sting noise that comes every time. It's not got old a year later. I mean, it's not got old for me. I think
whenever we get to the end of a section and then it goes pa-ta-ting.
I think it just rounds it off quite nicely. So we've done that, we've wrapped that, put that one to bed, it's all good.
Yep. And then I think otherwise the amount of times that great, thanks. I can't believe how much great work. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. That's so nice.
Well, so Scotland, we have plans to do a whole mini series, basically. So you know how we have like our series of 13 episodes. So what we'd like to do is do one of those just about Scotland. But in order to do it right,
we feel like we probably need to go to Scotland and have a bit of a journey. Same for Wales, actually. And Wales is great because it even divides neatly into 13 counties.
It does. So
Scotland, I think, has more. It might take a
depending on when you measure
it. I don't know.
Sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. But then if you include the islands as separate entities.
Yes, I mean, a series on the Orkneys and the Shetlands would be absolutely amazing.
Just Orkney folklore is hyper developed.
Yes, so interesting. And
You have a famous dog?
a famous dog?
Yeah, well, as you know, we always like a famous dog.
I really like a dog story.
Yeah.
Yes, I will absolutely be doing a dog story when we get to Scotland.
Yeah.
Or 6.
Yeah. Well, that's
They'll
it.
creep in.
We haven't gone through and like actually seen how many stories Eleanor has put dogs into, but I reckon if we did, like,
I would say 95% of my
spreadsheet.
tales. Yeah,
I think
involve some kind of animal.
I think it reached a point where you're like, okay, even I think this is maybe too many dogs.
Yeah, I mean, I would have put them in there, but you'd made some comments, so I cut them. I cut the dogs.
It's all my fault.
That's another thing that comes in our supercuts. Actually, our next door neighbour has a very enthusiastic black Labrador, and
Yes,
he's often recorded, isn't
Yes,
he?
he
He's like
is.
the junior sound engineer for us.
God, he woofs
He
loudly.
sure does.
Whew. He's our own little black shuck that we have next door.
Yes, sadly not. I mean, luckily not as fearsome. Not sadly.
Blimey, the black bitch. Okay, excellent.
Sounds insulting.
All right.
I like it though.
Going to be doing some research into that later.
Definitely.
Nice.
I'm pretty excited about it. Maybe I could just write a book about folk dogs.
Well,
Actually, hasn't Mark Norman done that?
That was what
Yeah.
Mark did.
Yeah, he
in
wrote one
the
all
folklore
about
podcast.
black
Mark
chicks.
Norman. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he's like his most recent book is all about the folklore of Scooby Doo. So like he's
wild.
he's got a huge range of folkloric interest.
Also a dog though.
Yes,
Scooby-Doo is a dog.
Yes, he does like puppers, I think is a fair thing to say.
And who can blame them?
Yeah, indeed. So Olivia, or if anyone else is here, then any questions you have about Three Ravens, of course, we'd be super happy to answer them. So just fire away and we'll respond as they come up. So one of the things I was going to say is if you've been listening to the podcast since the beginning, then you'll know that the first few episodes have a slightly different microphone sound. And the reason that we changed is because for episode 4, I think it was 4, we had to record that episode
so many times.
Like I think 3 or 4 times because our podcast microphones kept breaking.
Yeah.
Literally as we were trying to record.
So that one is the most over rehearsed.
It's the one that we did over and over and over again. And trying to stay reasonably amused by one another.
Well, also trying to make the same gags.
Yeah.
Like, how did this pan out? Can't quite recall why was that funny? And it's not funny for the 4th time at all.
But I think it's been really interesting how it's been a learning process of how to not script everything so it doesn't become dead, if you know what I mean.
But
and just
have enough notes that you're not
reading.
Just making stuff up.
Yeah.
Just making up facts about Oliver Cromwell.
And
I don't do that.
No.
I don't make up facts about Oliver
Don't
Cromwell.
make up facts at all. But trying to keep things funny without also going off on too long a ramble. Because that's one of the other things I'm always interested to find out about, because like we have recorded some episodes that are much longer than others.
My last few became exceptionally long.
Yeah.
I mean, given that when we originally started, we said each episode was going to be 45 minutes. I don't think any of them have ever been 45 minutes, have they?
Hey, within the Boggart Woods here.
Hey,
hi.
hello.
Hi, how are you?
Best Boggarts ever.
Best Boggart ever. Yes,
Yay.
absolutely. So is the skull the third raven?
No, the skull is actually a flower pot.
Yeah.
Or a drinking vessel.
Well, so the actual truth of why I have this is because Eleanor bought me a really nice collection of rare Byron books. These are all of Byron's letters and journals. And Byron used to drink wine out of a goblet that contained a human skull. And so rather than buying me a human skull to drink wine out of,
kind of frowned upon, slightly
Eleanor
hard to get on eBay,
that this very nice resin replica would at least be something that I could theoretically drink wine out of.
You haven't yet though, have you?
No, because it had previously been used as a plant pot by someone, I think. And as a result, it's absolutely filthy inside. Yeah. We've tried to clean it
full of grey
loads of times.
It's actually been through the dishwasher, I think,
which
is strange
and
to explain. Someone comes around for tea.
It still ain't, I mean...
It's not great.
No, it's not good. So, yeah. But we do fill it with like at Easter time, we fill it with little chicks and eggs.
It looks very sweet.
It's part of our
seasonal
display.
Fill it with a mini Santa Agatha. That could be quite something.
But no, the third raven is, of course, the listener. Yeah, that was always the plan.
Until we get a pet raven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have been
Which is
looking
something I like a lot.
for some of these live shows that we're doing, are buying a series. They sell quite cool raven lamps with the ravens
like
holding
little light bulbs.
Little light bulbs that dangle out of their mouths. And we thought that might be quite a nice set deck.
Definitely.
So we're thinking about getting those.
Really some taxidermy.
Yeah. Bicarb of soda. All right.
Ooh.
Excellent advice.
Good tip. Thank you.
Boggarts know all the things.
They do.
I suppose mostly because they've been around for so long. They've been able to
possibly responsible for some of the suspicious earthy stains, so they know how to get them out.
Definitely. But yeah, so what I was talking about before was episode length. How long should our episodes be? Should they be longer? Should they be shorter? Like, does it matter at all? Because
does one notice?
Does one even notice? Do people just plug in? Because when I listen to podcasts, which I do a lot of the time, I don't tend to look at the episode length. I just let it play and let whoever is hosting the podcast take me on whatever journey they've got planned. And sometimes that can be quite long. But I also do find if a podcast is overly long, I won't finish it. So, like,
I quite like long ones because I am in the car a lot.
Yes,
I drive, a huge amount of my life. So being able to just stick one on and let it roll is good for me. But yeah, it might not be good for everybody. I mean, everyone has different podcast listening habits, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts in the bath.
Yes.
And then when I'm pottering around the house, doing laundry and washing up, and I don't do the laundry in the bath. No. I wash myself separately to our clothes, just to reassure everyone. But yeah, I don't know. Some of the like Kevin Smith 3-hour plus podcasts, that's so long. I never finished them.
I think our longest thing we've done was probably your Eric and Enid story, wasn't it?
Maybe. I think our longest episode actually.
That was so hard because I was just laughing all the time. Every take, every page was full of me snorting and spit taking and just making really ungainly noises while I told the story.
Well, thank you.
I think there was a point where I was just like, shall I leave the room? Well, I really want to hear this story.
Her fist in her mouth. Like, oh. Yeah, it was very good. No, the longest episode we've released on the main feed is the Black Shuck episode that we just did.
Sorry.
That was the beefiest one.
Dogs need time.
They do. They do need time and care and love. But yeah. So I'm very interested to hear what people think about that. Did you name the podcast after the song, or is there another meaning?
Yes.
We named it after the song. Yeah. Yes. We spitballed a lot of names, didn't we? We were talking about different ideas as to what we could call the podcast, and also, things like "Don't Whistle Till You're Out of the Woods."
Yes, I went around the houses a few times on that to try and find something that felt like the right sign-off, which is friendly advice, folklore, superstition, but also slightly sinister.
Yeah.
What's in the woods?
And there is, as you've probably seen, an old defunct podcast called Three Ravens, which used to be about Game of Thrones.
Oh, yes, because the three-eyed raven.
That's it. And they hadn't released an episode for ages. And we thought, well, it doesn't seem likely that they're
it's quite a different ballpark.
Yeah, it doesn't seem likely that they're going to go again. So let's go Three Ravens. I mean, we love ravens, of course.
Yes, top birds.
So that was a big justification. And we were just trying to look for something mystical.
Yeah, and there's the power of three within storytelling and folklore. Three witches, the raven obviously has a lot of symbolism attached to it. But yeah, partly, I mean, it's named after the song.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are lots of folk songs that are really cool, but I think, like you say, there's double symbolism, isn't there, with three and the bird itself. And I think once we'd settled on it, we got very keen on the notion. But we also, of course, did our market research, because we listened to a lot of kind of witchy, ghosty, spooky podcasts and kind of going, is anyone doing quite this? And no, we concluded, no, okay, all right, so we've got a bit of a USP, aside from just the two of us, which I think is one of the things.
And there's original stories, I guess. Yeah. That's obviously something that not a lot of other podcasts do.
No, so much work.
Some do, of course. It is a lot of work. But luckily we take it in turns.
Yeah, we do. And I don't know if anyone's listened to Ghosts in the Burbs.
Yeah, she writes original
Liz
stories,
Sauer,
doesn't she?
I mean, her podcast's been going for almost a decade now. And I've just connected with Liz, who's proving to be a really lovely person to talk to. But the amount of work that woman on her own has done for all this time is absolutely incredible. So yeah. Seriously speaking, I usually listen to podcasts while report writing, so the length, as long as it's interesting, doesn't matter. Good.
Great.
That's good to hear. I mean, obviously, your opinion sits very highly. Let's see if anyone else feels differently about podcasting.
It is kind of hard to judge sometimes, because especially depending on if you've written the episode or the story first.
By which we should say that what that means, i.e., like everything else that isn't the story, we write as a script.
The county information, the folklore stuff. Yeah, we'll make like bullet points, notes, things we want to talk about, flag up. And it depends how long that's getting. I mean, some counties there is less to say.
Yeah.
Some has so much that you could just keep talking for a week and you wouldn't finish. You know, Cornwall, you could just carry on. I really could have just carried on for days with Norfolk. And then you've got all that, and then you think, well, I've got the story I want to tell now, and then that gets quite long too. And there you are at an hour and a half.
Whereas what I've tended to do, certainly since series 2, is to write the story first, so I get a sense of how long that is, and then I'll try and write a script that's going to hopefully leave us with about an hour-long episodes. But when we, like during series 1, obviously we started out thinking, oh, we'll be able to do 45-minute episodes easy peasy.
No way. I mean, I think our stories were a lot shorter in series 1. Mine certainly were.
But I think in order to tell better stories, they need to be a little bit longer, a bit more sophisticated stories, which I think hopefully everybody who listens enjoys. But
it's all an experiment.
It's also fun for us.
I'd be really interested to hear which stories people have liked the most and maybe why, and if there's anything you'd like to see more of, basically, or anything you think, why do they never tell stories about? We never tell stories about.
Well,
we don't tell that many stories about fairies. You know, we've only done a couple of fairies.
No, we've realised we've only got
fairies
are
a bit underrepresented, whereas witches are heavily overrepresented.
Yeah. So you've gone mermaid crazy and witch crazy.
I've gone mermaid crazy. Yeah, absolutely.
So we need to kind of reel in the mermaids, not in a literal way,
but a
metaphorical
leave
way.
Those beautiful creatures to swim free,
and do slightly fewer. Or maybe approach witch stories in a different way. But then again, like ghost stories, like
we've got lots of those, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's getting bored of ghost stories.
It's so different, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're doing with the ghost. So, like, you told the one about A Promise Kept, the one about there was a love story and also a ghost story. That's an unusual ghost story. It's like finding new ways to do ghost stories, I guess, that aren't just the same kind of M.R. James. Lonely man goes somewhere, does something they shouldn't, gets terrorized,
gets touched by a little ghostly hand.
Yeah. Love all your stories, especially the haunting season. Love a scary story. Sometimes too scary for me, as I often listen in the middle of the night.
Oh no, don't do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about if any of them are too scary.
Yeah, we don't wish to horrify. Well, we kind of do, but not in an off-putting way.
It's a tricky thing to balance, isn't it? I don't think all of the episodes can be that scary. Like, I think probably the scariest stories that I've written maybe were the Hexam Heads. I think that was quite scary. And then the Netley Abbey Phantoms, I think, was quite scary.
I think your one you wrote about Liz Truss was really scary. Just the images were frightening, and I wouldn't want to listen to that in the middle of the night because I would picture it.
Scrabbly Queen.
Yeah, there was something about that.
Yeah,
definitely.
I really enjoyed writing that story.
I mean, when I approach ghost stories, I always try to think of what scares me, which is quite a lot of things, as it turns out.
Well, I think it's also interesting because Eleanor has written a lot more horror stories that haven't appeared on the podcast, because like horror falls a tiny bit outside the Three Ravens.
Yeah, and I think there is a line with some of the more ghostly and monstrous tales where it kind of crosses into horror, but you don't want to go too far because a lot of people don't care for horror and it can push people away.
Well, also if you're feeding your baby in the middle of the night, just think, oh God, get it out of my ears.
Get me behind me. Sorry, my eyesight's terrible, and this is tiny, and my glasses are where? Who knows? I think the buckets have run off with them.
Olivia enjoyed the Liz Truss one, the audience. So I'm really glad you enjoyed that one. The Hexam Heads is definitely an interesting one. It is interesting, isn't it?
I mean, weird story.
I'm interested in the weird ones, in case you couldn't already tell. Like we were thinking about compilation episodes for the gap between series 3 and series 4, and we were actually assembling them today, like trying to match up stories to make good trilogies.
We haven't made good choices for matching up, it's fair to say, because some of them these don't go together at all, do they?
No, that's right. But I think it's also, I've written a lot that are quite weird.
Maybe 3 weird tales.
Yeah,
3 tales of the weird.
But what we try and do with those compilations, as you'll know if you've listened to them, is to make sure that they aren't all Eleanor or all me.
That was the trouble we were having, wasn't it?
And so now we know Eleanor has to write at least one properly weird spooky story.
I've written some weird stories.
But something very strange, like what was the Torbarrow Guardian?
Yeah, your Roman automaton was pretty odd.
Deeply peculiar. Something like that would be very good. But anyway, you know.
No, I take that feedback. Deeply peculiar for season 4.
Well, another thing people have said they want more of is happy endings, which I think is quite interesting because I tend not to think about happy endings to stories. I guess I've written some that have happy endings, but mostly I tend to think about my low expectations of how things will go in life. It's very rare that things have a happy ending, so I tend to go for a little bit of a sad ending.
I quite like the blunt ending. You get the blunt ending a lot in fairy and folk tales, don't you? And just in, you know, and if they haven't stopped drinking, they're still drinking.
Yes. Yeah.
And there it is.
Olivia said that she found Black Shuck scary.
Thank you. I also find it scary.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs destroying communities. It is frightening.
Yeah, it is frightening.
But also, like, it's quite a monstrous idea, isn't it? If you think about this huge kind of stinking hellhound, it's horrendous.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think that the end of that story is very sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope, isn't there?
There's optimism at the end, which I think is really helpful. It's been quite interesting over the last week where we've run a very small amount of advertising and seeing the listener rates rocketing on that last episode, which is quite a handy one, I think, for people who are finding like that to be their first entry into Three Ravens.
Yeah, because most people have heard of Black Shuck in some form or other, and most people are vaguely familiar with where Norfolk is, I think. I mean, so. I could be wrong. More people could have my geography, which I've got to say has improved exponentially in 1 year.
Definitely.
Could not have told you where many of the counties were before that, which is shocking. I've lived in England all my life.
Yeah, both
visited many of these places, and yet still could not really tell you where they are.
Yeah,
neither sat nav's a curse.
Neither of us knew. I forgot. I've got a bit of feather on me.
Raven feather?
I was just noticing I had something on me on the camera.
No, dinosaur feather?
Just a bit of feather.
Oh, well,
but yes, neither of us knew our way around England at all, really.
No.
I mean, there was places that we do know better.
I mean, Martin struggles to locate the next town.
Yes.
But he maintains that it operates in a sort of space-time continuum that moves around.
There are 3 towns in Sussex that I am convinced are constantly shifting. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they have a consistent location. Eleanor is sure that she knows where they are.
I do know where they are.
Sometimes on the approach to them, she says, hold on, wait, I don't know where we are. So,
this is not true.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I wouldn't trust myself to go to any one of them on my own because I would just get lost. I have a terrible sense of direction and a terrible memory as well. So I basically need Eleanor to look after me. I'm not really capable of navigating the world by myself.
You're fine once we get there, though.
Yeah, I tend to have a very nice... If we're at the location, then the anxiety level drops, and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah.
The travelling to and from the location.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I'm okay weirdly in London. That's fine. Because I feel like London, the nature of being in London is you're lost because it's such a big and intimidating place. I just sort of embrace the notion that I'm riding on a sea of chaos. And whatever happens.
You should put that on your business card. Riding on a sea of chaos.
Yeah, definitely. I think if I remembered for riding on a sea of chaos, then that would be pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I have Caledonian wolf-alike at home. Whoa! And it would be easy to see how photos could develop around big dogs. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well,
That sounds amazing.
On that, there is a strong argument to suggest that civilization in effect began with the domestication of the canine. So
of the wolf.
The wolf. So bringing wolves from the edge of fires and throwing bones to them to slowly but surely over thousands of years, eventually reaching a point where you get something closer to a domesticated dog, kind of coexisting with mankind. And then from that, we start to get into communities.
Yeah, because I mean, when was the last wolf active in the UK? I mean, wild wolf, not the ones in lovely wolf sanctuaries.
I think that it was in the 16th century.
Yeah, so Black Shuck time.
But that's just off the top of my head.
I talked about it in the story. One of the legends of how Black Shuck came to be was that this huge wolfhound ran off into the forest and had some saucy encounter with the devil himself, and Black Shuck was born. So that's one suggestion, possibly.
But I do think that the black dog is such a rich symbol, like much like the raven and the crow and the bear and a lot of those heraldic beasts.
Yeah, the ones we see on our coats of arms. And things.
Yeah, the unicorn, of course, is like a slightly different one, as discussed on that Three Ravens Bestiary. But I think with the dogs and people kind of come together as species, I guess, through all of history. We are intertwined with them. Certainly around where we live, our Black Shuck next door aside, like everyone has dogs around here.
Yeah, it's a very doggy village.
It is a very doggy village. We don't have pets.
No,
because,
we don't. Lifestyle's too odd.
Well,
also trying to record a podcast if we had a dog in the house, I think might be an actual disaster.
Within the Boggart Wood manages it.
Oh,
yeah,
you've got him very well trained.
Yeah, indeed. But
it's a boggarty spell.
It's because we're away so much. Like if we're going off and doing a play for 2 weeks or something,
it
then
just wouldn't be fair.
It would suck for the dog. So
one day,
yeah. One day Eleanor really aspires to have enormous dogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really want.
As quite a small
ones.
person, I think enormous dogs are the way to go.
Whereas if I were to have a dog, it would be a silly little dog, like a King Charles Spaniel is the kind of dog that I would like. So it would be a very large
go out,
man
so you carrying your tiny little handbag dog and a very small woman.
I don't think a King Charles Spaniel is a handbag dog.
Compared to you, it probably is.
Yeah, but I think it would be nice to just have a little. I like the long ears as well. Well, I like this long one. Don't get in trouble.
You know how in 101 Dalmatians, the dogs look like their owners. Well, Martin always says if I was a dog, I'd be an Afghan hound.
If you Google black Afghan hound and show a picture of one compared to a picture of Eleanor, I think you'll see what I mean.
Almost identical.
Well, but even
it's
you,
like the comment box going, "We agree, yeah."
But even you did it, and you were like, "Oh."
You can see that.
Yeah.
Actually, that happened to me last Halloween. My father drove through a village in which they were having a scarecrow kind of competition, and everyone in the village had made their own scarecrow and dressed it and put it outside the front. And he, I had a cup of tea with him, and he said to me, "There's a scarecrow in that village, and it's a dead spit of you." I thought, it's a bit insulting, actually. Okay, fine. But then I later drove through the village myself, and well, he had a point. I could see it. It was very good.
She was driving and went, "Oh my god!"
Oh, okay, you meant that one. Yeah, I see that.
But it's interesting that people would think that you're the kind of look of a person that would terrify.
I mean, it was wearing a yellow sundress and a straw hat, which was one of the reasons I thought it looked like me.
Yeah, which is also something in summertime.
Otherwise, it resembled me greatly.
It's part of your uniform. Yeah. Norfolk and Norwich, definitely on my bucket list now. Yeah, amazing
Norwich
places.
was so good. I wish we'd had longer there. I think we must go back.
Well, we'll be going back because, we're doing Black Shuck Festival.
Yeah, so we'll pop in then when we're in Bungay, which would be really good.
We're definitely going to go back and spend a bit more time exploring Norwich. We must go. I mean, I know that the cell in which Julian of Norwich lived no longer exists.
They've renovated it though. They've done a reconstruction in the chapel.
That's the thing. It's not the same thing as a reconstruction.
But it was the same place. So
but I'd love to see that. And we did have some really interesting conversations with some of the venues in Norwich who were like, "Oh yeah, come and do your podcast here." And we're like, okay. All right, yeah, great.
There's a new novel out about Julian of Norwich actually, and Marjorie Kemp, the other mystic sort of hermit lady. and I'd really like to read it.
Cool.
I wonder, has anybody come across it? I think it's called, what is it? It's a quote from one of Marjorie Kent's texts. I think it's called "For thy great pain, have mercy on my little pain," or something like that.
Ooh,
Those are the
yes.
words in it, but I may
I've
not
read
have got
about-
them
I've
quite
read
in the
about
right
that.
order. But yeah, it looks quite an interesting read if you're interested in those people, which I am. It's
Yeah.
pretty fascinating.
I've only ever been to London once. That was enough.
Went to London once, didn't like it.
Didn't like it.
I mean, don't blame you.
I mean,
It's not very nice.
I have
We
really.
both used to live in London,
We
although
did.
before we met,
Oh.
and I wouldn't do it again.
No, but I also go there every week now. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm very much used to it. I don't miss living there at all.
Mm,
As somebody who'd grown up overseas in the middle of nowhere and then in the southwest, also kind of in the middle of nowhere, it was overwhelming living there. But you know, I got used to it after a time, I suppose. But I'm not a city person. I'm much more of a country.
You can't
Much
walk
more
out of the
country-
house and get mud on you. It's no good.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I have several family members from the southwest who have said, "Yeah, I went to London once, didn't like it." And yeah,
Genuinely,
Eleanor has
Yeah.
heard them.
I've had them do it. You think it's a joke, then it happens.
But yeah, I think it's an intimidatingly large place. Just so overwhelming. And like
Lots
I say,
of cool folklore, though. I had loads of fun when it was the Middlesex episode. Yeah, it's so much interesting to discover. I think you're going to enjoy that when it's your go.
well, yeah,
Second round.
we were starting this conversation talking about Scotland and Wales, and another mini series that we want to do is just London, which I know.
So much.
Like, one of the slightly frustrating things about England in general is that people perhaps focus too much on London, but there are some very, very interesting bits of folklore from London. So I think at some point we will do it. And I think it's also interesting that Middlesex, because Middlesex doesn't really exist anymore.
Because it's Greater London now.
Yeah.
It always was Middlesex. I mean, some of my family from London, and I always remember writing to them, and it was always the Middlesex postcode.
But I don't think people know it as Middlesex, and so they know Essex or, you know, Northumberland or whatever. But
because it's a Saxon name, it's hangover from the Anglo-Saxon period.
Yeah.
So,
but it's interesting that episode was one of our least downloaded episodes across the whole 3 series, Middlesex.
whereas
And
I wonder if it was called London, people would go for it.
I reckon they would if it was called Greater London. Likewise, Huntingdonshire and Westmoreland is not surprising because these places don't exist anymore. But nonetheless, you know, I think for us it's important to try and say, like, well, if you're going to listen to the whole 3 Ravens run, get a sense of like what everywhere once was.
We did have a lot of helpful comments on Instagram from people telling us that Huntingdon was in fact in Cambridgeshire, though, didn't we? So I know that now.
I think it's always interesting with the internet, people who haven't listened but jump on and say something.
Yeah.
I had that the other day. Somebody was like, "Oh my God, you only do English folklore. Why aren't you doing Welsh and Scottish folklore?"
So give us a chance.
So, well, also
We'll
we
get
do
there.
kind of cover that stuff. Like, just have a little look at what we've done before you maybe.
A few things get mentioned, don't they?
Yeah, they did. Well, of course.
But we would like to go to both Wales and Scotland, and in time Ireland, although
Yes.
definitely our Gaelic pronunciation is going to have to undergo a radical transformation, like Duolingo potentially, because at the moment we're not great.
Well, likewise Welsh, because
Oh yeah.
when we've been reading some older texts, I mean, some things, there are very limited translations of some of the earliest Welsh writings. And so you're kind of trusting the translator to have been on the up and up with you.
Yes.
And it is well known that some of the people who did those translations were not on the up and up. So I would love to be able to read them myself and go, aha. But I also don't really have the time to learn Middle Welsh. So
No.
what you going to do?
On the other hand, could be a nice project when you finished your masters.
Yeah, it would at least be nice to read some places and names and feel confident in how to say them.
Yes, there are some that we have a few goes with and we still get it wrong.
Yeah.
But people do usually help us out, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
We've got it so wrong with some places, haven't we?
Oh, definitely.
Just wild.
It's been confirmed. 1680. the last wolf killed in the UK.
Oh, excellent. So later than we thought.
we were
Yeah,
quite close,
16th
though.
century.
Quite
So
close.
yeah, later than we thought.
Yeah.
So, oh.
Mm.
Do we think we should bring them back? General
Yeah.
consensus, yay or nay to the wild wolf?
This is an interesting thing. I don't think we should. I think because
No, I probably don't think we should.
I mean, I think it's cool that we've brought boar back in some areas. Like,
Oh, yeah. They're quite dangerous, though.
In Spain, they're creating proper chaos, which I also appreciate. I mean, I do kind of think there should be a bit more chaos. You know?
Wild boar-related chaos?
Well,
wild boar are quite naughty, aren't they? There was that article about a wild boar running off with a man had been swimming, ran off with his clothes and left him having to chase after it to get his pants back.
And that boar knew exactly what he was up to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Although they are bringing back the pine marten in England. I think Scotland's already got the pine marten.
So beautiful.
I love those creatures, so I'd be very excited. Yeah. You probably wouldn't ever see one in the wild because I think they're quite secretive, aren't they, and shy.
Even when we've gone to like nature reserves and places where they're specially
they don't really want to come out and
endangered species. Yeah, I mean they whip past, don't they? They're so fast.
I'm sure they'd come fast enough if you had a day-old chick in your hand, but which is what they feed them in the one that's up the road from us.
I don't want to carry around day-old chicks and just sort of stand in a wood holding one, going
in the hope that you'll just get.
Pine martens, assemble!
They don't like each other either, so you'd only ever get one at a time.
That's it. They fight. They're quite territorial, but they do kill grey squirrels, which could theoretically be a means whereby the red squirrel could once again be reintroduced.
Which is a beautiful creature. So.
I don't think we've ever done squirrel politics on Three Ravens, but
one for next season.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah, we've probably made our feelings clear about fox hunting, etc., but not squirrel politics.
Brownsea Island is one of the very few places where there's like naturally it is the red squirrel that remains dominant, but and parts of Scotland, I believe, the red squirrel still thrives, but most of the UK it's the hulking grey squirrel. Imported squirrels that are the dominant species. Any plans for visiting the Northeast? Yes, most definitely.
Yes, we would love to.
Yeah, of course we'd love to.
I have never been to the Northeast, I don't think. I mean, maybe I have. It will be this thing.
The classic Three Ravens thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been there. Oh, no, but I've actually been there. Yeah, we do this a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, we'd love to explore more up more in the north, actually. Yeah. I've visited very sporadically. I've been to York, been to the Lake District. Does that count? Lake District North? Northish. Not northeast.
Yeah, not the northeast.
Still a work in progress.
Yeah. So basically the reality for us is theoretically we can afford every once in a while to do a big old trip.
Yes.
So it's then basically being realistic about how much money we actually have to afford to go somewhere and stay for more than just a day or two. So what we're trying to do is organize live shows to offset
can go to interesting places,
costs, basically, because the live shows won't likely make us much money, but they'll help to cover the expenses of travel to the places that we'd like to visit. So we are in conversations with an event in Leeds. Don't know if that one will come off, but basically at the moment I'm looking at events and venues all around England.
We could potentially come and visit.
Yeah, and reaching out to them and basically going, hi, this is who we are. Would you be interested? Because I mean, the first few live events that we've got lined up, people came to us, which was so pleasant. It was really, really nice. Because basically just people were already listening to Three Ravens and they work for the council or they work for this festival or that festival. I'm like, let's get these guys in there. Cool. So yeah, it was very surprising to be contacted about some of those. I think we probably need to be a bit more proactive if we want to make it a regular thing.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to do some more lives. I wanted to ask actually about the bonus series. Which ones you've liked, anything you'd like to see that you think we're not covering within those sort of bonus episodes. We've got our 4 pathways, the magic and the bestiary, the something wicked and the crafts.
Yes.
And do we think that's a good balance? Would you like anything else?
I mean, we've already got
Any special requests, basically?
Some ideas lined up from social media feedback about some of the topics to be covered in the bestiary, for example. So I know I'm going to do dragons, which is intimidating.
Obviously very popular beast.
And I know I'm going to do goblins as well. So those are two important ones that are going to come up. But I mean, we're always open for suggestions from people.
Of course.
I think also, there are some things that suit haunting season.
Yes.
More than maybe suit the day-to-day. So we haven't had very developed conversations about haunting season for this year. But for example,
because it's March.
Yeah, because it's March. But I think probably for the bestiary for that one, I might do vampires. I feel like it's like an open goal to do vampires. So yeah, I think that'll be the bestiary choice. But always interested to hear topics from people and suggestions from people. So even if you're watching this live stream back later, because we're recording it and releasing it on YouTube, do email us with your thoughts on topics and
we love hearing suggestions. I mean, we always enjoy it when we get emails from you with interesting things you've discovered. And actually, a very nice thing we've got to do in the next little while is go through all of our flash fiction entries. We've got loads to read. I can't wait. It's going to be a real pleasure to delve into all of those.
It has been amazing to see.
It's been such a cool response.
Has gone. It's so nice. So yeah, I don't know how else we're going to celebrate them aside from releasing podcast episodes, but I feel like
maybe we could release all the texts on Patreon.
I think it would be very cool to maybe talk to everybody who we think would fit nicely into a collection and maybe do like a chat book kind of
that could be so lovely
thing where we're like, okay,
Raven's Listeners.
Volume 1 of
Tales from the Raven's Wing.
Tales from the Raven's Nest, something. But we'll have a think about it because it's been lovely. Hey Paco.
Hello.
What was that about Spanish chaos?
Wild boar.
Wild boar. Yeah, we were talking about
general Spanish chaos as well.
Yeah, you're not annoying, Paco. Paco, you have been throughout the course of, I think, since you started listening to the podcast, probably the most diligent sharer of Three Ravens content across social media. Thank you so much. It has meant a huge amount to us both. So yeah, really appreciate it. And if you are as chaotic as you say you are, please don't change.
Yeah, never change. We love chaos.
And also do more drawings, for goodness sake.
Yes, please.
You're a very talented artist, so please do more drawings. What have we got there? You make it up here at Connectors Local Guide. Well, yeah, I'd really like that. That would be great. But also we are planning to do 4 series for a new type of bonus episode. So, I mean, it might be a bit much. We'll see how it goes. But we're planning to do like 3 releases a week. And the 3rd release in a week will be called Local Legends. And the idea of Local Legends is we'll interview a folklorist or, a podcaster or a historian or somebody who's wise in the ways of that county, and then release that episode as a whole bonus episode, so we can kind of get there.
Probably a little shorter, but it'll be something.
Yeah. So what we'll do is fold a little bit of the interview into the kind of mainline episode, and then release the whole thing at the weekend, so people can then listen to the broader chat. So one of the things that I've already emailed back and forth with you about is how much I'd like to have that conversation with you and get that sense of like what's going on in your local area within the Bog and Wood. But there's a few other people, folklorists and so on, that I've been already emailing with, and I'm lining up times to interview them. So that's another thing that we've been talking about lately, looking ahead to season 4, is like, well, we had an episode order.
Yes.
That was randomly generated.
It was literally us with a map going, I'll do that bit. I'll do that bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that bit looks fun.
So now
don't know where that is. That sounds great.
So now the question is like, do we shuffle things up massively? Or do we just like shuffle them up within the season? At the moment, what we've concluded is we're going to have to shuffle things up within the season. So we know, for example, we started with Sussex.
Yes, so Sussex will probably appear again in
series
the
1.
Next chunk of 13,
but
it won't be number 1.
No, it'll probably be the season finale, because we're lined up to do Three Ravens live at Chichester Arts Festival.
Yes, so that will work out quite nicely.
So yeah, that should line up with the end of the series quite well. So that like we're thinking about episode order at the moment. I mean, yesterday I said to Eleanor, so I've been thinking about episode order. And she said, I have no time to think about episode order. I have to do things. So eventually I'll pin her down between her many tasks and jobs and driving missions and go like, so when do you want to talk about Somerset?
Always.
Always, yeah, you always do. More ancient food.
Oh, that could be a fun bonus series, couldn't it? Ancient food and drinks. I love things like that, actually. I one Valentine's Day tried to make Martin a medieval lovers feast.
Not just try.
Well, no, I think I did succeed, didn't I?
Succeeded.
I mean, there were some things about it that were a little bit strange, but so I was using sort of medieval recipes and trying stuff out. But yeah, largely successful.
Yeah.
I did make my own spice mix, which was fun.
Yeah, you did.
Maybe we could do a cooking show. Folkloric cooking show. I mean, it's going to be some variations of horrible porridgey slop, isn't it? And a bit of bread on the side.
Frumenty.
Small beer. Yeah.
Yeah, small beer and frumenty.
Could be funny though.
But no, I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah, that's an amazing thought. We could definitely do that because we haven't really, have we? We talk sometimes about kind of special snacks for Saints' days and such like, but we haven't really talked about historical food.
And I talk about them in the newsletter when I'm writing the newsletter, like if there are particular meals or things. But
and I guess things like Shrove Tuesday, obviously we eat pancakes, and that's a folklore tradition. So things like that.
Yeah,
Christmas puddings and 12th day cakes and such.
But that's a very good idea.
Cooking show, Three Ravens cooking show.
Well, like the way that you've jumped from never talking about cooking to a show.
Yeah, I could dress up in a coif and have an open fire. It'd be amazing.
Okay, all right.
Dog sitting by the fire. I can see it now.
I think editing work on that is going to be insane.
I'm very professional. I don't know what you're talking about.
The Arthurian stuff you've done so far has been great. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed doing it.
Particular passion of Martin's Arthurian stuff.
As I said when we started out Three Ravens, I was a bit too nervous at the beginning to kind of crack it open. But slowly but surely, I feel like if I just do them every once in a while when I've got an appropriate narrative. So, like, as you know from listening to the podcast, we're switching counties for this lap round England.
Which means you get Cornwall.
Which means I get Cornwall. And so the natural thing for me to do for Cornwall is to do Tintagel, the birth of Arthur, sword in the stone kind of thing. And I have an idea for how I want to do that story, which I've been carrying around for ages and never quite had the confidence to write up. So now Three Ravens has given me a jolly good excuse to do that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying doing the Arthurian myths. I think I've managed to capture a silly tone that's worked out okay so far. So I'll keep doing those.
Certainly with Eric and Enid.
Yeah.
I'm not over it.
But one of the things about those stories that can be quite tricky actually is they are very masculine. And while we don't want to be tokenistic as a podcast, one of the things that we are always trying to bear in mind is like, are we covering enough representation, kind of like smaller minority groups in society? Because one of the main criticisms I think that comes at like the folklore subculture is that it's extremely white, and we haven't been explicit about the ethnicity of many of our characters.
No, that's true. We haven't.
We in some cases we have thought about characters as not necessarily being white without giving it away.
But I haven't actually mentioned it. So how would anyone ever know?
Yeah, exactly. So
we don't always describe people, though, do we? And
no.
I think that's partially intentional because we're an audio medium, so it's nice for the listener to be able to picture whoever they would like to picture. I mean, sometimes we describe people, but
definitely, but I think not often our protagonists. I also don't think it's that natural in fiction for a protagonist to describe themselves unless they're looking in a mirror,
especially if it's first person.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Yeah.
So interesting. Some requests for us to try the Geordie accent. Definitely not on a live stream.
No, sure. Because this might be forever.
Yeah, this will be on the internet forever. I have tried it several times.
I've tried it. I wouldn't say it's been a great success.
No. I sound like I'm a member of the cast from Cool Runnings, the Jamaican bobsleigh film.
I'm not sure mine's actually that bad, but I lack confidence. I think Martin is more likely to throw himself into an accent than I am.
Sometimes
if I'm not sure, I tend to not. No. You know, and there are a few that are easier than others, I'd say.
And like when you were even doing Black Shuck the other day, there was a discussion. Like
there is a discussion because I'm not 100% on the differences between Norfolk and Suffolk.
Yes.
And the Suffolk accent isn't the easiest, actually.
No.
It's quite an unusual accent. And I'm not totally sure where the differences are between Norfolk, so I just didn't do it.
Yeah, just opted out.
Just opted out, omniscient narrated, and it was all fine.
Whereas
maybe for next time.
Sometimes I've done some quite Worsley local accents.
You sure have.
across the Three Ravens experiment so far.
We'll have to experiment with the Geordie. Maybe we could do some private recordings and pop them on Patreon and go, yay or nay before you want an entire 20 minutes of this madness.
But one of the things that I wondered or was afraid of is if I speak to Worsley, is it going to be very difficult for somebody who's not from the UK to understand?
That's true.
And one of the things I found most interesting is some of the feedback we got from American listeners was, that sounds like a regional accent from X part of the States or Y part of the States.
Because, of course, immigration.
Yeah. So, like, I can hear
really interesting.
that regional accent from the United States in that regional accent from the UK. And so it wasn't that difficult.
So it wasn't that distancing particularly.
I mean, I do fear sometimes that I've put on accents that have just terrified a listener away and they've gone, I never listened to this madman.
Martin was very nervous about his Herod the Wake.
Yeah.
It was Danish, wasn't it?
Took a big swing. Goosh.
Yeah.
But thankfully, people were very, very positive about that one. And people said they wanted more of that character as well. And I've since then I've been like, okay,
what could he do next?
How can I try and bring him back? I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm still racking my brains. If anyone's got any ideas, obviously just email me. I'm very happy to.
You're much more adventurous than I am. I tend to just find registers in my own voice rather than doing that.
Yeah, but I've been an accent person since I was a little boy. I've always been interested in talking funny. Just to try and amuse people, really.
I will say that when we get to Wales, I'm not going to try. It won't sound Welsh.
I don't think I can do Welsh regional accents because there are Welsh regional accents.
Yeah, of course.
And I think I will. If I do some Welsh accents, they will be broad.
I don't think I can even do drama school Welsh, though. Which sounds like nowhere.
Yeah, true.
I'd have to listen to a lot of videos.
Yeah.
Depends on the character.
So what have we got here? First feedback I got from the US is that they recommended getting a new presenter for the podcast as they couldn't understand me within the boggart wood.
Oh, rude.
That is so rude.
Well, they need a new listener. They need to be a new listener.
Yeah,
they need a new set of ears.
New ears is what they need. Yeah, I think that you've got a great voice. Don't change it.
You're really clear and really easy to understand.
And also very relaxing.
And way too interesting.
Yeah.
So I often fall asleep to podcasts, like quite frequently. I can't fall asleep to Within the Boggart Wood because it's too engaging. So I said that's not a sleepy podcast.
Well, the first time I put an episode of Within the Boggart Wood on for Eleanor, she said, "Oh, this is such a relaxing voice.
What a soothing." But then,
it's going to be nice to fall asleep to.
Yeah, I couldn't fall asleep.
Doesn't work that way.
No.
Whereas
real life ghost stories.
Yeah. Emma from Real Life
She's
Ghost
like
Stories.
a lullaby.
She is. She is a sedative.
Within 10 seconds,
in human form.
I can be out.
Absolutely.
I mean, not for you. You can stay awake, but me, not at all.
No, but I mean, I can stay awake through most things.
Yes.
I find, as I've said on the podcast, I find it very hard to sleep. I'm not good at it. It's one of the skills I lack, along with like locations, memory, faces and names.
We are different in that respect. I once fell asleep at the dentist.
Yes. While she was being...
With the dentist. Yeah. I was tired. It was a lie down.
But people don't believe me when I say you're a magical woman, and I think that is an example.
The dentist was quite perplexed.
Well, of course. Who does that? Who falls asleep with the dentist? while being operated on. That's amazing.
Me.
Oh, funny. Okay, Paco. Some sort of film club type book club would be lovely, I think.
Oh yes.
Now we talked about this.
We did. We would quite like to do that actually.
Yeah.
We've started putting book recommendations in the newsletter, and it would be nice to do a book club because actually we've been sent a couple, haven't we, of advanced reader copies, which people would quite like us to review on the podcast. We simply haven't got around to it yet. Actually, one of our lovely listeners is a writer, and she's just sent us a copy of her book before it's released. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. Yes, can't wait to read that. So that it would be really nice to do a kind of book club. Although we were thinking about maybe doing it in a real book club format.
Yes.
So maybe something like a Discord chat where we can all talk and say what we liked about the books, and then we'll sort of read it together, like we'll watch the film club film if you fancy it.
Exactly.
But perhaps with a little bit more give and take, so it's a bit more.
And so what we were thinking, because this is obviously the first time we've done a live stream type event, but one of the things that we were thinking for the book club that would be really cool is to then have like a monthly book club live stream where if we've all read the book, then we can meet up and then chat about the book, and then it could be a nice kind of
social as well.
Social chat, exactly, where we can ask questions and see what people think.
People can recommend books as well, because we love getting book recommendations. You can tell from our backdrop we like books.
Yes.
This is just one small section.
Yeah, I mean, if I wiggle,
not too far.
If I go
there's quite a lot
that
around.
way, if we
Don't
can
go the other way too far.
that way,
Chaos reigns.
And then there's like that goes up to the ceiling, and then that's the non-fiction section.
Yeah,
fiction's all upstairs.
Folklore is out of shot actually because it's all there.
My father, in his infinite wisdom, said that I have very expensive wallpaper. That's how he described my book collection.
We did not grace that with a response.
No, I didn't laugh. I didn't find it very funny. But yes. Hey, we have a lot of books.
Yes.
We like to read. And I think Three Ravens Book Club
would be excellent.
It's going to happen.
And there are so many awesome books we could read, which are set in this sort of folklore, fantasy, fairy tale world, aren't there are. Fiction and non-fiction, actually.
And I think one of the things maybe we should do with that is put up some choices, because between series 2 and 3, I did a poll on I can't even remember what it was about, but people said that they wanted more polls within that poll. So, and I haven't done any more polls. So I think it would be quite nice to be able to put up some book recommendations and then poll to see what people think we should read. And then we'll go through that as a group. My only nervousness about it at the moment is because I'm still at university and doing quite a lot of course reading.
Time to actually consume a book.
Between Three Ravens and my course reading is a little bit iffy, but it's coming to an end fairly soon. So then I'll be ready. But even if we start it really soon and I catch up eventually, then I can still at least attend. I mean, Eleanor eats books.
I read quickly.
She's a monster. I don't understand quite how you get through them so quickly, but I mean, you are
very speedily.
I'd say fairly frequently a sit down in the morning, finished it by tea time kind of reader if you have the time to read. That's
definitely the way I like to read.
Yeah, it's your favorite relaxation activity, isn't it?
Definitely.
To be able to read, just like that. Whereas I can do that from time to time, but I'm less reliable on it. I'm more of like a binge reader. And then I get distracted by something that's happened. So I've seen a bird. But yeah, part of the reason that I study poetry is because, it's lots of gaps. Lots of gaps.
Some of the poetry you like is in 12 books, though.
Yes, that's very true. I like longer poems from time to time. But even those have gaps in. It's very rare that a poet just churns it.
Read poetry as part of Three Ravens Book Club.
Yeah.
A bit more bite-sized chunk.
Nice. So book club. Yes. Great. I haven't listened to Boggart and Banshee. I'm going to add in the Boggart Wood to my Boggart-based podcast roster. You should. It's a very good podcast. Love the film club. Lots of great recs like American Werewolf. Love the kaleidoscopic weirdness of the Company of Wolves. Yeah, thank you. I mean, obviously with the Three Ravens film club, we only watch a film a month, and I get the sense that there are lots of people who like it to go faster, but we don't have we can't.
Well, it's not so much the film watching, because we can obviously watch films,
Yeah.
but it's the sort of putting it all together, because those episodes take the longest, don't they? Because you use excerpts. From
Yeah, I
film
want to
stuff.
make them sound nice, so I then go
Yeah.
and find clips
Audio
from within
and
the
stuff that's
films.
so
That takes
they're actually
time.
the most produced of all of the episodes. Aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're the ones that take the longest to make, I think. Well, they're the longest to edit. They're not the longest to make
put together
because of the story elements of the mainline episodes.
Well, yeah, and obviously we just have a chat about them. We have our loose Raven ratings categories, but then we don't really script our conversation. We just chat. So
yeah, exactly.
That's nice from that perspective.
But I mean, it's been great for us, the film club, to actually get us to watch some of these films that we've been saying.
Yeah,
or
we've seen them when we were kids, and we want to rewatch them.
Yeah. I'm excited about the next year of that. So yeah, enjoying the film club very much. Yeah, bookshelves do get in the way of hanging art, and art gets in the way of additional bookshelves. That's very, very
it's the
true.
Constant toss-up. If we turn the screen around completely, you would see a wall full of art.
Yes, we have some walls that are just art, some walls that are just books. I reckon we definitely have more art than books in total on our walls.
What you mean than shelves?
Yeah,
not than individual books.
No, not than individual books, but in terms of like
I love pictures. Though.
Like up the stairs, you can't easily put bookshelves, for example.
No, exactly.
So
we actually, I mean, I'm sure everyone else has this problem as well, but I mean, we certainly always exist in a state where we've either got a picture that needs framing, or once it's been framed, got a picture that needs putting up. Like we've always got one sort of prop somewhere. We recently went to the fantasy exhibition at the British Library,
as we recorded
incredible,
for the podcast,
and bought this beautiful, I think it's a 16th century map of fairyland, which is just incredible, but it's super long, so it's going to have some sort of custom frame, I think. That's been sitting there waiting. I really want it up there because it's just amazing. It's like beautiful, sort of hand labeled, here be wolves, here be selkies, behold the dragons, and it's just great.
But in such detail. I mean, I think that's
incredible.
One of the most interesting things about being creative is giving yourself the time and space to go a little bit crazy and run that experiment of just seeing where it goes. Like, that we have in the Three Ravens community, people making fans, people doing beautiful paintings,
so incredible.
People creating incredible landscaped gardens, like all sorts of different kinds of art that people have engaged in, and just having that I guess faith in yourself and willingness to put time in to seeing where the project goes, and accepting that it's probably not going to be perfect, but what is?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing ever is.
It's never going to be. We always say, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Definitely. And there's always a point where it's good enough.
Yeah.
And that's normally when you've run out of time.
Exactly. The deadline. That's when it's good enough. The 5 minutes before he presses record.
Right. So does anybody have any additional questions or thoughts? Because we said we did about an hour. We've been chatting for an hour and it's gone zipping by. So does anybody have any other things that they want to know?
In the question box.
I think we have. I'm just going to scroll back up again.
Just check we've not missed anything.
Yeah. What's we got? Seeing some red squirrels. Excellent. Good. Glad to hear.
Like their little tufty ears.
Lord Byron's relish. Nice. That
can be in the cooking show.
Yeah, Lord Byron's relish. No, nothing new particularly. But yeah, we'll just hang out for another 5 minutes and see if anyone's got any other feedback or things that they want to say.
Anything you'd like to see? Any stories that we haven't told, but we could tell, that you would really like to be told?
But I mean, Three Ravens Book Club. You've heard it here first.
That's cooking show.
Cooking show.
The cooking episode. The cooking episode, not the show.
Yeah, the cooking show. Because we've
one day.
So squirrel is best served in garlic butter, allegedly.
Okay. Well, we're going to do something with all those grey squirrels when the pine martens have culled them, haven't we?
I'm not going to. not going
Oh.
to be eating squirrels.
Okay, well, I'll rethink dinner.
And yeah, so cooking episodes and book club, those are definitely things we're going to do. And if you are watching this back later, then do please
pop us an email, send us a message on Patreon.
Things that you'd like to see,
get in touch
and
through all the usual channels.
Yeah, but the main thing I'd say is just thank you so much for joining us in this crazy experiment, this wonderful community.
Raven flight around England.
It's been absolutely brilliant. And from where we started this conversation in the chat in the bathtub about like, you know what we should do? Because for ages we've been thinking about what we should partner on together.
Yeah.
And concluded that this was it. And we hoped that we might get 1,000 listeners or something across the course of our first year.
We've been kind of amazed by how that's escalated.
It has been insane.
It's long gone beyond the stage where we could fit you in the garden.
Yeah, long. Yeah. I mean, I can't show you the garden because it's dark, but it's not a very big garden.
Probably not even fit 100 people. Well, no, definitely. No 50 way, might be a stretch.
No, but there are so many people from all over the world that the podcast has touched, and that it's come to mean quite a lot to people. And that there are people waiting for new stories and waiting to talk to us. And, you know, the people are so friendly in the way that they write to us in a familiar way, like
friends.
Amazing.
We've had such good chats with people. We love hearing people's stories. You know, we've got enough to fill another listener episode with all these great tales and little tidbits of information, which is so interesting. And yeah, we've loved it. We love connecting with you all.
We have.
And hopefully we'll have another year of delightful folky fun.
Yeah, and you were a bit nervous about this, but how did you feel it was?
I was nervous about this. I haven't done a live stream before, which is wild because I do live theatre.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same thing. But that's scripted and that's a little bit different. But I've really enjoyed it.
Good. So expect more, because
I will say I did think it was going to be like a Zoom and I'd see all your faces and hear all your voices. So it's a bit of a surprise, and it wasn't. But we've rolled with it.
Yeah, one of the reasons that hasn't happened is because I didn't know how to do it.
We can learn.
We can learn. But yeah, I think it's
like Velociraptors, we can learn.
The chat. And yeah, thank you. It's really our pleasure to put that. I'm just looking at the chat. It's our pleasure to have recorded the show, and we'll keep doing it. We'll keep working on it. We love doing it.
It's the best fun for us.
Yeah.
We love working together. I mean, a lot of people might not be able to work with their other half, but since we got together, we've been thinking, what can we do together? Yeah. So,
and you've written parts in plays for me, and I've written parts in plays for you. But this is a different thing where it's
just do it together.
Much more like together all the time. And if we can get Three Ravens to a position where it is a little bit more economically viable, then it will kind of be the dream scenario for us, because then we just get to make things for each other and with each other all the time. So who knows? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for on your Saturday night joining us for a chat.
We should have told a story, really. Next time, we could totally do a little live story tell.
Of course we could, but this was always going to be just a bit of a chat.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and yeah, we will do another live stream fairly soon. Thank you for being here for the first one. You guys are the tip of the spear. We appreciate it. And of course, remember, don't whistle till you're out of the woods. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Are we on?